Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a closer look at the Vastking Fit M3. This is a budget smartwatch, really it's a fitness watch I'd say, that goes on sale as low as $36, which is definitely very affordable. So it comes in two colors, black and pink, and in terms of the specs of the watch are concerned, it does have a reasonably large 1.65-inch IPS display, which is larger than budget watches just a year or two ago used to have just 1.3 inches. So this is going to seem a little bit more immersive in terms of the screen-to-body ratio, even though it's a budget watch. And other specs here include IP68 water resistance. It can be submerged up to 1.5 meters of water, so if you're doing some very light swimming, it should still survive, as well as when you're showering. Has heart rate monitoring, as well as SPO2 blood oxygen monitoring. This also has around 8 different sports modes that it's able to track. However, it doesn't have a built-in GPS, which is reasonable at this price. That means if you want to run outdoors and want to track your route, you should bring along your phone and offer the connected GPS function. It offers a metal design as well, so has pretty premium build considering the low price, and also has customizable dials or watch faces as well that you can pick between. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily anything new that we haven't seen before in terms of the features, but really it's just that affordable price, as well as a pretty clean presentation that Vastking is, again, trying to offer here. So aside from the smartwatch itself, underneath the plastic, you'll also find access to a quick start guide that documents how to set it up as well as charge it. And as aforementioned, it has a magnetic charging dock. It will pretty easily just attach onto the dock like so. It's magnetic, so it stays in place pretty well, charges up in under 2 hours, and then again, it will last you for about a week of usage, which is pretty good. Now here is the black version that I've been testing out already for the past few days. And really, it's a pretty clean and attractive looking watch for the low price. We do have a relatively large screen-to-body ratio. Of course, the bezels aren't going to be invisible, but they have been much reduced compared to past watches in this range. In fact, here it is next to the Amazfit GT-S2, which has pretty similar dimensions overall, although the Amazfit watch is going to be much more expensive, coming around $200. In terms of build quality, I have to say Vastking have done an excellent job here, because just like the Amazfit, they have made a body that is constructed out of aluminum alloy, so it wraps all the way around, so there is very minimal use of plastic, and as a result makes it feel a lot more expensive. And then on the edge here, we have a crown key, which is accented red. You can tap on it once to turn on the display and tap on it again to turn it off. There's also raise to wake, so you can turn your wrist to your face and the screen will automatically turn on. Although since this is a IPS LCD display and not AMOLED, it doesn't have a always on display mode, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So otherwise extremely sleek rounded corners and just makes it feel more petite and smaller than many of the other watches that I've tried in the past. So very comfortable, very lightweight when you're wearing it, almost invisible. The straps are also removable, so you can replace them with other textures and colors if you prefer. Moving into the software experience on the watch, overall it's relatively easy to use, and it's not going to be as smooth or fluid as some of the more expensive watches, but it's at least intuitive and the gestures do feel quite familiar. The icons that they've gone with do remind me a little bit of the Xiaomi Mi Watch, and although if you don't like this particular style, you can always switch into the regular list format just by tapping on the middle key there, going back, and now we have more labels describing all of the different apps that we have on the watch. Otherwise, in terms of long holding on the home screen, we're able to change the watch face. The memory here can hold up to 5 dials at a time. So here's a quick look at some of the example ones. Here's an analog one that is a little reminiscent of the Apple Watch, but looks pretty clean, I have to say. And another one that I like is the second one, which is a more sporty vibe that is also reminiscent of the Amazfit watch. As aforementioned, even though it is an IPS LCD screen, I do think the colors overall are pretty vibrant, and it's not a shabby looking display at all for this price. It gets reasonably bright so that even if you're outdoors, it's still easy enough to make out, and it looks quite good. The glass covering up the display is 2.5D curved, so at the edges here you can see how it kind of bleeds over, making swiping feel a bit more responsive, and overall it's pretty sensitive and easy to use. If anything, it is a little bit easy to attract fingerprints, so you have to kind of wipe it off after a while, but overall, again, looking quite attractive. Now, swiping down here, we can have access to all the quick shortcuts, including a flashlight mode, so it turns the entire display white, and you can illuminate something in the dark very quickly. You can also turn on a do not disturb mode, so that will prevent any notifications from coming over, as well as change the screen brightness manually on the side here. There is no automatic sensor, but overall it works well enough. Otherwise, we can swipe over in a carousel list to go through some of the other functions, like the number of steps, and from here you're able to take a look at distance walked, calories calories burned, and the highs versus the lows versus the past 7 days. Swiping over it again, we'll take a look at your sleep data in terms of light versus deep sleep for the past week. And the sleep recognition is all right, I would say. It works only at night, so it's not going to be as accurate if you are taking a nap in the afternoon, for example. So in that sense, it doesn't have 24-hour sleep tracking, but if you are sleeping in the regular hours at night, it will still do a reasonable job in terms of telling you roughly how many hours you've slept and some of the patterns of your sleep. So just like other budget fitness trackers in that regard. Here is the heart rate function, which you can either have it continuously measure, let's say once every hour, once every few minutes, or you can disable the function and just take manual tests yourself. SPO2 for blood oxygen monitoring also works well enough, and this part was a little bit surprising in how the SPO2 sensor is a little faster than many of the other budget smartwatches I've tried in the past. Usually these require you to stay still for at least 30 seconds to get a measurement, but on this I was able to still kind of move a little bit, and it got the test done in around 5 to 10 seconds, so it was really fast, almost as fast as a heart rate test. On weather, we can also take a look at some other conditions for the next week ahead in terms of highs versus lows, and the rough condition will be displayed there as an icon. Although once we hit the end of a list, we aren't able to loop back into the main screen. As you can see there, we have to kind of go back or tap on the shutter key to kind of return us onto this main watch face. So I kind of wish it would just loop all the way around, but it is what it is. Now, if we swipe over on the other side, we have the full list of additional applications. So on here, for example, you can take a look at the sports modes that it's able to track specifically, like walking, running, cycling, skip rope, badminton, basketball, football, and swimming are all ones that you can track in terms of distance, heart rate during that entire sport. Some additional functions include the ability to help you relax or breathe via this visualization that slowly expands and exhales. Pretty simple stuff. We also have access to an alarm that you can either turn on or off directly from the watch, although if you want to change the time, this part can only be done via the app and it will be synced over. We also have, again, the aforementioned countdown timer, so you can track different durations of time and then it will buzz and vibrate. Simple stuff, and then just kind of loops all the way around again. Finding your phone if you're connected via Bluetooth, and again, changing the menu styles. But as a whole, not shabby. Some of the transitions are a little bit abrupt and could be a bit smoother maybe, but again, for 35 bucks, it's kind of hard to complain. Accuracy of things like the pedometer also is decent. When I was comparing it with the aforementioned Amazfit GTS 2, I was actually within about 100 steps of each other at the end of the day, which is good enough, I have to say, in terms of getting you an approximation of how many steps you're walking. This one was a little bit on the more aggressive side, but still, if you kind of shake it, it's not going to count it as an accidental step. Heart rate monitoring and the SPO2 sensors, both of these were also fairly close compared to other smartwatches we've tried out recently, and again, it's pretty fast to get a measurement there as well. Alright, so it's called DaFit, which is actually a generic app that we've seen in the past on other budget smartwatches as well. So it's not made from the ground up from Vastking themselves, but overall it has all the essentials in terms of saving your data, and it's pretty fast to sync things over once you're connected via Bluetooth. So it tells you number of steps you've walked, as well as times during the day that you were most active. You can also visualize some more details here compared to what you could see from the watch's screen directly, and some other stats about your performance and how it rates with other people as well. So basic stuff. And then here under sleep, you can also more clearly delineate things like your light sleep versus when you were awake versus REM, and give you a score and how that evaluates with other folks as well. Very basic stuff. Same thing goes with heart rate and blood oxygen if you're in the normal range or not. And finally, you can go into the middle screen here to take a look at if there's any firmware updates. Under others, you're able to do things like change the time from 24 to 12-hour formats. You can turn on or off functions like continuous heart rate monitoring throughout the day, as well as the ability to also change things like your city if you want to take a look at weather information. Now, I also have the ability here to check out my battery percentage remaining, what types of notifications I want to pass through, setting up the alarms directly here from the app, as well as watch faces. So this is where we can go to try out some of the other options by tapping on more, and this will load from online, we can download all of these options to push over to the watch if we are interested. So for example, here's a full list. If we just scroll through a bit slowly, you can see some of these are colorful, other ones which are a bit more analog in style, but they all are pretty attractive. Downloading and pushing over a new watch face usually takes about 20 to 30 seconds, and over here we have just another option that we've pushed over. Again, looks pretty attractive. You can also create your own watch dials as well. So under this fourth watch face option, you can tap on Edit, and from here you can select your own photo as the background, as well as change the position of the clock if you want to be higher or lower, as well as the color of the text for the clock as well. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the Vastking Fit M3, again, budget smartwatch. Just like with TWS wireless buds, kind of shows that the price point of these products are just continuing to come down as long as you're looking for something simple and straightforward and don't need all the most advanced bells and whistles, and offers, again, a pretty good alternative to something like Halo's smartwatches like the Halo LSO2 that offer a similar price point, but those watches are made out of plastic instead of aluminum. So if you're interested, you can check out more details in the links down below. A solid ultra budget smartwatch overall. That's been the Vastking Fit M3.